What's going on, everybody? Here today with another Bodhi Tree mental health video. On this channel, I just talk about my own journey through severe mental illness, mainly obsessive compulsive disorder and severe anxiety. I wanted to do today's video as a response to a viewer's question that he had, in which he asked me, is recovering from OCD, is it possible? Or am I just stuck with this forever? And that's a really excellent question that it seems like when you ask, you get a multitude of answers. Typically, if you ask a psychologist or a psychiatrist, they say that it's chronic. But then there's also people like me and other people who's talking about recovery. And some people even go as far to kind of seem like recovery is definitely an option. I mean, why can't you recover? You know what I mean? And so I think that the answer is really lies somewhere in the middle when it comes to OCD recovery. I want to give a perfect example of how I see OCD recovery. OCD recovery is like someone who is obese, right? Someone who is obese, someone who is like, say, 600 or 700 pounds, and they need to lose the weight or they're going to die, right? It is possible for someone who is 600 or 700 pounds to lose 300-400 pounds. It's possible, for sure, and people have done it. And that's very similar to OCD recovery. It's possible to lose the weight. It's possible to, reach a high level of mental health after being mentally ill. The real question is what's the probability of someone reaching full recovery in OCD? Just like as in physical health, most people that get to that level they don't come back down to a healthy weight without surgery. And even without surgery, I train students in trucking, and I've had 2 students. They have had these weight loss surgeries. They've had gastric bypass, and they're still overweight. So even with the surgery, they're still overweight. So the probability of somebody getting, going from 600 pounds to a healthy weight of, say, 180 pounds and being able to walk and run and live a happy, healthy life is possible. It's just not probable. And OCD recovery is very much the same thing. It's possible to recover from OCD and not have any symptoms for the rest of your life. It's possible. It's possible for you really to recover and just not have it anymore. As one guy on YouTube obviously talks about ditching the diagnosis. It's possible to ditch the diagnosis. It's possible. For most people, I don't think that it's probable. If I had to estimate, out of 100 people with OCD seeking OCD recovery, less than 10% will ever fully recover. Probably less than 5%. If you had to tell me, if you gave me 10 people with severe chronic OCD that suffered with it for, greater than 1 year in a chronic format, and you said, what's the probability out of 100 people, what percentage will recover? I'd say, between 5 and 10%, if that. That's what I would say, because it's just very difficult. Now, through ERP, through medication, through adopting a more healthy lifestyle, and gaining a lot of better perspectives and changing your beliefs around anxiety and certain themes and stuff like that, this is all part of the full recovery journey. But that can lead to management. That means you see people with OCD who continue to be honest about having symptoms of OCD, yet they're married, they have pretty much a normal life, but OCD is something they deal with either on a daily basis, or they deal with it on a weekly basis, or it's episodic. It comes and goes. So that's where I think a lot of people can really get to. But that's even the approach to that through ERP and medication and lifestyle changes is very different than someone who would be seeking a full recovery and remission from OCD. And then I think you have people that are just, unfortunately, I think that you're going to find people that just really cannot seem to even get to a management level with it. You're going to have people who are just honestly just like people that are bedridden in obesity, where they're 600-700 pounds overweight, and they're just unable, like without surgery, like it's just not able to just do it. Like they're too far gone. Their willpower versus the circumstances that they're facing, it's just too big of a gap to close. And so you're going to have people like that in the OCD community. So it's, you got people who just, I think you have a lot of people that really won't improve that much at all. I think you have a substantial amount of people that will improve, but will come to a management level, even to a high management level, where it's like they go through periods of time where they feel that they don't have OCD, but then it comes back. And so we know that it never really left. And then you have people that completely ditch the diagnosis and cease to have any signs or symptoms of OCD anymore, and it never comes back because they don't have it anymore. And so these are really the three spectrums, and I'd say probably on the recovery side, it's probably less than 10%, probably another 50% can get to a management level where they can have a normal life, and then you probably have another 30-40% that are basically affected, and their life quality of life will remain extremely low throughout their life due to this disorder. Because it depends, another thing that it really depends on. Now, I was unfortunate enough to be, on the severe level. I mean, my anxiety was the worst of the worst. I mean, it was just terrible, and it was just chronic, and I didn't know what was going on with me for a long time, so that really played a big role in like my OCD just escalating to this really high level. And I mean, look, I'm still not recovered, and I've been at this for over 2 years. That shows you how severe. But I mean, just like somebody who's trying to lose 600 pounds, people don't lose 400 pounds in 2 years. I mean, it takes years, 4 or 5 years sometimes, if they ever get to that point, without surgery. So when you look at it when you compare like losing weight, somebody who's morbidly obese and bedridden, expecting someone to come down to 180 pounds after 2 years is crazy. You could compare me to someone who was like 600-700 pounds, and I've lost, like, let's say a healthy weight for me is like 180, and I'm like at 240 right now. Like, that's really fucking good. I'm fully functional. Yeah, I mean, I deal with anxiety and bad days, and I'm still, dealing with the symptoms, but I'm living a full life. I'm continuing to make improvement. So it's a perfect comparison between obesity and this disorder. So is it chronic? Is it, curable? Well, it's going to be chronic for a lot of people. For most people, some people are going to be able to cure themselves. It's going to depend. It's also going to depend on where you start. So, it's definitely going to be the odds of someone with chronic OCD for more than a year. That means more than a year without treatment, in my opinion, where they've had severe OCD. So that moment, that oh fuck moment that they had, I mean, they have had OCD for quite a long time before that, but that oh fuck moment where they realize they're stuck, if that goes on for like 6 months to a year, you're going to have, where you're just freaking out in your mind 24/7. That's where you're going to definitely, that person's chance of recovery is very low. If someone is lucky enough, and this isn't most people, is fortunate enough to realize that they have some type of psychological issue going on within the first stages of OCD. So like when I had anxiety for years before I realized I had anxiety, I was functioning, I had good times, I had bad times. I knew there was something wrong with me, but I didn't really know. It didn't seem like a big deal because I was functioning. It seemed, I guess, like my compulsions were working. Mainly, I was just able to just, think my way out of my problems. But then, with OCD, we realized that, hey, that's not going to work. Once you hit that wall and you're no longer working, well, now you have to get better. So, that's it. And, one of the things I'm going to do a video on is, we have to do better as an OCD community in just being honest about all of this. And we have to create a support system for everybody. Everybody should attempt to seek full recovery. Everybody should attempt it. You owe it to yourself to attempt it. And if you keep trying and you keep trying and you're really determined to overcome this, then you will. You will. If you're just determined that you're going to recover this, no matter what it takes, no matter how bad. Because, the therapy that works for recovery is acceptance and commitment therapy, mindfulness, and adopting an attitude of acceptance. All of these this is all pretty much the same. Nonetheless, with acceptance, the philosophy, you kind of build a philosophy, and you're kind of, as Rob from UK says, you're wearing your symptoms like an uncomfortable coat. I don't know why this person particularly doesn't call this the same thing as mindfulness, but that's what he likes to call it, and other people call it radical acceptance, a philosophy, a way of being in the world. Another person, I know people talk about acceptance and commitment therapy, which is basically being mindful and focusing on what you're doing in the present moment based on your values. So based on your values. So you say, well, these are my values and this is how I want to spend my time. And you just work on spending your time doing that rather than engaging in compulsions. This could be outward or inward. So you use your values and you decide what you want to do in your life, and you go towards that, and you accept the symptoms and anxiety. So you kind of use mindfulness, but then you kind of approach the day not like with no goals. So you say, I'm going to do this, this, and that. My goals for the future are this, this, and that. And you go towards your goals, and you don't let anything stop you from pursuing those. And you do that through accepting uncertainty and all the bad feelings that arise throughout your day and through as you pursue your goals. And I think this is really good for a lot of people, especially when they're getting started. And then you just have like mindfulness, which is, especially mindfulness practice throughout the day, or just, kind of similar to, a surrender or a acceptance, where it's like, I don't have values and I don't have goals or anything that I pursue. I just live in the present moment, and I just practice living in the present moment. I'm just always aware of what's going on in my mind, and I'm just always aware of what's going on around me. And whether I'm sitting here staring out the window, I might spend 20, 30, 40 minutes just staring. I'm just being, that's just it. I just practice mindfulness. That's it. I don't have goals or anything, that I write down and I'm trying to pursue or anything like that. I'm just being, that's it. I'm just living mindfully every day. I'm just aware of what's real and what's not. But all of these therapies are extremely difficult for someone with OCD, and also they cause a lot of really heavy side effects. Doing an exposure and doing repeated exposures to bring down the fears of certain obsessions is very different to the amount of anxiety that you're going to get when you start cutting out rumination. When you really cut out rumination, which is the driving problem in anxiety. You thought your way into this. It may have been over a lifetime. You thought your way into this disorder. You're going to have to mindfully get your way out. You're not going to think your way out of this completely. If you think that you can keep some rumination around certain things and then get rid of rumination around other things, I promise you're never going to be completely anxiety free. That's just you judging what anxieties are bad. Like, these anxieties make me feel super uncomfortable under here. These seem useful to me. But essentially, the practice of just trying to control and be certain and plan and anticipate the future is the same. It's worrying. There's no such thing as rational and irrational worries. There's just you thinking and you not thinking. That's all there is. Once you see that, then you start to cut out that compulsion of ruminating. So that's it, y'all. I think that, OCD recovery is possible. I don't think that it's probable for most people. And I think that we have to work towards some people, just supporting some people, who are perpetually fucked up, encouraging them to make changes in their life, but supporting them nonetheless. And I think we have to work on a lot of people who are just going to be able to manage this through ERP medication, different types of cognitive behavioral therapy, perhaps a better lifestyle as well, just doing everything that you can to manage it. And then we're going to have some people who are going to be consistent and seek recovery, and we have to support anyone who wants to fully recover from this. But you're never going to know whether you're going to be able to recover through this until you get into it, you know. So if you get into it and it's just so overwhelming, you try and 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 you just can't get it, then maybe you take more of a management approach to it. I'd rather someone just try and manage their OCD and get to a place where they're functioning at least and having some times where they're happy, where they're okay, than to just give up on recovery and just be in misery for the rest of their life. So I think that's important. But I hope this video finds you well. Peace, y'all.